We'd like to welcome you to BeMoreNews.com, the news before the news, where we uncover the truth. Today is Wednesday, August 25th, and there was a press conference at Israel Baptist Church, and one of the attendees was the one and only Professor Larry Gibson, Professor of Law. How are you, sir?
I'm fine. I'm fine, Don.
Good. And Jessamy supporter.
No question about it.
Okay, and today there was outrage in the community regarding the Dawson family tragedy being manipulated by the Greg Bernstein campaign. Is that correct?
I've never seen an ad that produced so much immediate negative reaction, and I think there are really two reasons. People really object to the exploitation of this tragedy, and particularly the images of these children and parents who were murdered. The political exploitation of that. There's some things you just leave alone. Secondly, is that the ad was so clearly false. The person on the ad says that this tragedy occurred because of mismanagement of the witness program of the state's attorney's office.
Is that
And
true?
that is absolutely not true. These people were not in any way involved with the state's attorney's witness program, which only kicks in once there's already been a charge and arrest. There had been none such thing, and so the state's attorney's office probably didn't even know that these people existed. Now, after the first incident, the police department had offered some protection to the Dawson family, but they turned that down.
The
But it was
Dawson
certainly
family declined that.
the Dawson family declined that, but they never had any involvement with the state's attorney's office.
What's
So it was
been
patently
what's
false.
been the word from the Dawson family as it relates to them being depicted, or their family, their late family members being depicted, that tragedy being depicted in the Greg Bernstein ad?
The head, I think she's called the director of the Dawson Family Center, was at the press conference today, and she spoke of the trauma that this ad has caused to the one remaining daughter who happened to not be home when this tragic incident occurred, and just how much she objected to this exploitation of her family, and particularly the misrepresentation. According to the director of the center, the daughter just keeps saying, "That's not true. That's not right." She just continues to repeat that, and so the leaders today demanded that this ad be withdrawn from the
You say
airwaves.
leaders?
Yes, there were elected officials there today, several state senators and delegates. There were the officials of the NAACP. There were former prosecutors, and so there's collective community outrage at this ad that a lot of people think went beyond what was acceptable.
I was asked today by WYPR Sunni Khalid did I think this race was about race. He said that in his observations in white neighborhoods, there were Bernstein signs, in black neighborhoods, there were Jessamy signs. Your thoughts?
This race is about criminal defense lawyers who, for some fairly specific reasons, would like to have one of their own as the prosecutor. That's one thing. And secondly, although that issue may be pushed aside a little bit for now, some officials in the police department who would like to have a state's attorney under their wing.
Why are these criminal defense attorneys supporting a candidate for state's attorney?
Well,
They're on different sides of the table,
well,
aren't they?
I've taught people to be lawyers. I've taught law school for 41 years. And there's nothing wrong with being a criminal defense lawyer. They're an important part of the process. But I don't think it's in the public's interest to have a state's attorney who is beholden to the criminal defense lawyers for this election. Now, let me tell you a couple of reasons. One thing that the criminal defense lawyers object to is Patricia Jessamy's use of what is called the war room to deny bail to repeat violent offenders when they are waiting trial for their second offense. She tries and has been pretty successful in having them denied bail. Well, if they are in jail waiting trial, they're not able to raise money for their fees, to pay bondsmen, and the like. But what she concluded, and I think quite properly so, that a large percentage of crimes could be prevented by having these folks in jail, not out committing either robberies or burglaries trying to raise a fund. So they really object to what has been a very successful program on our part. The second is this whole matter of conviction rate. Now, any state's attorney or any prosecutor can create a very, very high conviction rate by plea bargaining a case. I mean, if it's a person entering a plea to a lesser offense, they get a lighter sentence, but it goes as a conviction, and therefore the prosecutor's conviction rate goes up. The defense attorneys' clients get off with the soft sentence, and they make more money. They don't have to try as many cases, and she's been pretty tough as it relates to this. And with the numbers back this up. Baltimore City has roughly 10% of the population of the state, but unfortunately 31% of the serious criminal offenses. But 60% of the incarcerations for these offenses come statewide, come out of Baltimore. In other words, you've got twice the chance of going to jail if you commit an offense in Baltimore as opposed to another one of the counties. So this is a tough city for criminal defendants, and I think that there are a lot of defense lawyers who would like a state's attorney who has a much more lenient willingness to sort of accept plea bargains for lesser offenses.
What effect has zero tolerance had on a Patricia Jessamine tenure?
Well,
and those are that came down under
well,
former Mayor Martin O'Malley and,
sure.
and under former police chiefs Ed Norris and Kevin Clark.
I think just about everybody, police, state's attorney, judges, concluded that that was an unrealistic and an unfortunate experiment, and it's been, for all practical purposes, abandoned several years ago. It was wasteful. It did not have any proper prioritizing to it. And
But
so
you have a lot of
in the
people.
last few years, I don't think that the zero tolerance program has had much effect at all.
Well, you have a lot of people with records now who need to get expungements.
It was I think most people concluded, an unfortunate, unrealistic an approach, and the zero tolerance was abandoned by just about everybody in the system. But no question that when it was in vogue, it did probably more damage than it did good.
Okay, any final thoughts?
No, that I think that this is an interesting election because there are those who are concerned that that this decrease that has taken place in crime could start going back up. If you get there at an inexperienced a prosecutor, you get in office there someone who up until now has not shown any interest in law enforcement or making the city safer, that there could be a reversal. There's been a steady decrease in crime. Well, that's not automatic. That downward movement in crime could be reversed, and it could start going back up again. We had last year 33,000 felonies committed in the city. Well, about 10 years ago, we were averaging about 96,000. So that's a cut by about 2/3, and there are those who fear that that could start going back up if we don't continue the programs that have been proven to be successful, and add the new initiatives that Patricia Jessamine is talking about, which for this next term, that mainly relates to fighting gangs.
Good deal. The incomparable, the indomitable Professor Larry Gibson. We thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Enjoy.
Keep watching BeMoreNews.com, the news before the news, where we uncover the truth.